What's up, y'all? Goofy Rexy here, and hope everybody is doing well. And I usually don't do this, but I came across this Reddit post today, and I felt compelled to make a video about this and talk about this here, because this is actually a really good topic for discussion. And this was by Terminator 5500. Shout out to him or her. And it says this: I think some players take this game way too seriously. I'm an alliance leader of a Plateau group, and I'm going to stop there with my credentials. I feel like we lose sight sometimes and forget that this is a game and know it is on a slot machine, because no matter how much money you put into it, you will get no money back. It is purely entertainment, and there is no debate that can prove it otherwise. Can't we all just have fun? And I want to say this. I do actually think that Terminator 5500 does have a massive point here. I do think to a certain extent, we could probably even ask the question, like, are we too hooked to Marvel Strike Force? I think a lot of us are, right? A lot of us are. We set timers, and we take time to log in probably whenever. I mean, Mobile made a video the other day talking about this, right? Where there's sometimes where you're hanging out with your friends and you're like, dude, I'm stepping away because I got to do a war attack, or you're waking up at XYZ amount of time. Now, that's not everybody. I do think that, you know, that's a small percentage of the game that is probably doing certain things like waking up in the morning and doing alliance war attacks at XYZ amount of time. But even myself, I consider myself to be a semi-casual, semi-competitive player, not casual, competitive player, because I do care about my arena attacks. I do care about getting to XYZ in raids. I do care about winning wars. I don't go out of my way to try to go too crazy on it. I play with an alliance that is very similar to my play style and what we want to do. But at the same time, I do think that there is definitely a point to this where I do think that there are some players that do probably take this game way too seriously. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, if you take it to, if you're in the category of taking the game way too seriously, you probably should also play with players who also take the game as seriously as you do as well. But there's some other things that were mentioned in this post that really kind of spoke to me and maybe want to kind of dive into that a little bit more here. And this is the line that really kind of stuck out to me here. It's, I feel like we lose sight sometimes and forget that this is a game. And you know, Terminator 5500, you have a point. This is a game, this is a hobby. But at the same time, though, some of the frustration is sort of kind of the design flaw of the game, right? I mean, let's process this for a second. If we look at every game mode in this game right now, we look at arena, we look at raids, we look at these blitz, we look at these new game modes that they're going to be introducing into the game, right? Cosmic Crucible, they've already introduced Pocket Dimension, they've introduced as well Avengers Tower, right? Some of the stuff is fun, but at the same time, there are some design flaws in this game that do kind of lead to some frustration for a lot of players. Number one, arena. Right now, I gotta log in. You get 5 arena attacks, but you don't get to do them all at once. You do one, then you wait XYZ amount of minutes before you can do your next one. And then on top of that, right, you have to log in at XYZ amount of time and be around for 30 minutes. If you really are competitive in arena, you want to be able to get to the top, that number one ranking. Or not to drop out of the top 10, you have to be on at XYZ amount of time. These are some things that I do, right, to make sure that you can still climb high enough in your arena attacks. It's the same situation as well with raids, or similar situation with raids, where you get 5 attacks, but then you ultimately, for Doom raids, you got to do more than 5 attacks, right? You got to do 10 plus attacks depending on what percentage your alliance is shooting for. It creates this dynamic of you having to log in at various times of the game in order for you to be able to complete content. Man, if there's blitz release characters, stop it, right? If there's a blitz release character, you gotta log in every 2 hours. Especially if you're like free to play, man, you gotta blitz hard, right? You gotta blitz really hard, but then it's difficult because you're competing with players now who are massive Krakens and whales, who are going to have the higher TCPs and are going to make sure, and are going to be getting blitzed and getting these high scores. So then it knocks out. Before, maybe free to play had a better chance, because if you were willing to grind it out and you were playing the game for a decent amount of time, you were willing to grind it out and do as many manual blitzes as you wanted to do before, still sucked, but at least you were able to get more shards. Now it's not even the same. It's not even the same case anymore. It doesn't hold the same weight at all. So for me personally, yeah, do we take it way too seriously? Perhaps. Are we a little bit too hooked? Perhaps. But a lot of this is because of a design flaw. One of the things I would love to see them do right now for Arena is giving us the opportunity for us to do all 5 of our attacks all at once, and then probably introducing different payout times, right? Something that would allow for players to have a little bit more flexibility with their timing and with what they have to do. Like, listen, man, I work during the day, right? So sometimes I can't log in and do all of my arena attacks. Sometimes, and it sucks that I don't want to put a timer for a game, but I do sometimes, right? To make sure that I'm able to log in and do some, and make sure that I'm able to climb up that ladder and get that payout, because the cores that you get, the rewards that you get for Arena are also not that great if you really want to process it and think about it, right? I mean, you got to get what, under 50 in order to be able to get the 200 cores that you spend on doing your campaign energy. Just your campaign energy refreshes every day, not including what you have to do additionally for ISOs if you're farming ISOs, and not even including what you're probably doing right now for, well, that's not all the time, but for your event campaign. But you get the point, right? There's a lot that it requires a lot, guys, and blitzing is another thing. But like I said, even with the screen time overall with these new game modes that they're introducing right now, I think Cosmic Crucible is probably going to be fun. I think Avengers Tower is usually fun whenever it gets released. I think Pocket Dimension was something that was a little fun too, which, by the way, when's the next Pocket Dimension going to be released? But at the same time, it just requires so much in order for you to be able to play this game, that I'm also wondering the question, like, Scopely, do you know that this is just a game? Do you know, Scopely, that this is just a game? Because to be fair, this has become basically another job, right? That's essentially what this is. Like, Marvel Strike Force has become another job. And if you're in a competitive alliance, and if you want to be able to get the good resources in the game, you have to play the game this way in order for you to be able to achieve those goals. In order for you to be able to get into Dark Dimension 5, you have to be in an alliance that's doing Doom raids. And if somebody doesn't do their raid note so that you can hit 60%, then, or carrying their wish that you can hit 60%, then that sucks. If you're not carrying their wish that you can hit 100%, then that sucks, because you're trying to get to Dark Dimension 5 as expediently as possible. And it feels bad. So yes, I do agree with the statement. Maybe some players do take it too seriously. Sure, I might be one of those players that sometimes take this game a little bit too seriously. Definitely has a point here. But I do want to say this, that some of the game's design also leads to this as well. And then let's not forget about the simple fact that there are some times too where the game itself has some issues, right? We know about the exploits. And I think that probably also puts a lot of the players on edge, right? Like, if I'm a player and I'm playing competitively, I'm probably a little bit more on edge now, because as a competitive player who's trying to do things the right way, and of course then that becomes more frustrating too, that now we're not hitting these goals, and then the game has bugs. K Bishop's passive isn't working correctly. Morbius was releasing his ult wasn't working correctly. Things like that become additionally frustrating as well. There's bottlenecks. If I'm someone that's competitive, but maybe I just don't have a ton of cheddar to spend money and to get into Dark Dimension 5, but I'm super competitive, and yet I'm still not able to get a full team yet into Dark Dimension 5 to even start Dark Dimension 5, then of course that becomes frustrating also as well. So for me personally, yes, I agree with you, Terminator 5500. Some players do take it way too seriously, but you know, they should play with players who are also taking the game as seriously as well. But I do want to say that some of the onus does have to be taken by Boundless Entertainment, by Scopely, to make sure that the game experience is a little bit better than what it is right now. Maybe players want to be out as on edge. Maybe those players who do take it a little bit too seriously, or we'll find some more fun in the game. I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think that some players take it too seriously? Do you take the game too seriously? Maybe this is a moment for us to have some internal reflection here in regards to how we feel and what we feel. And I don't know. I'm going to end it there, guys. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget the links that are down below. Don't forget to subscribe and like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Until next time, y'all be blessed. Hey, y'all be safe. Bye.
It's true. If you say what you want from